Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rachakodash, double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, and Shalom unto the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel, and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved under Baba Kalab from the GMS UK London Forecasters Camp. Coming back at you with another lesson to help edify those of which I spoke of. So I did a lesson recently going into some of the turmoil that's taking place over here in the UK in regards to disability benefits reform. And I was saying that at the end of the day, for those brothers and maybe sisters out there who may suffer disabilities and may be dependent on some of these benefits to survive, at the end of the day, don't put too much faith in that, because at the end of the day, we are supposed to put our faith in Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and stay upon him and not stay upon him who smote us, because at the end of the day, this man's system's going down. Now, I wanted to point this out because in Esau's system, they have a lot of politicians and so on and so forth. And a lot of these elected, officials and politicians happen to be women. Now, we know according to the scriptures that a woman is not supposed to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. But again, this is just a clear example of how we are living in a totally unjust system where, how do I say? A totally unjust system where Esau does everything contrary to the scriptures. That's what I wanted to make, the point I wanted to say. Esau does everything contrary to the scriptures. So we can look at this man's world and line it up with the scriptures, and we can see exactly where we are. This man doesn't follow the Bible. He doesn't follow the laws of the Bible or anything anything the Bible says. He casts the words behind his back, but yet masquerades as if this is a so-called God-fearing Christian so-called country. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because there's some clear examples of why women shouldn't be put in positions of authority, because they're emotionally unstable. That's the bottom line of it. Women are emotionally unstable. They're not, they're the weaker vessel. They're not made for rulership. That's not their purpose. The word woman actually goes back to a definition of female servant. The woman is supposed to serve under the man. But in this man's system, in Esau's system, he's got these women in positions of authority. Now, to clearly show how out of order this is and how foolish this is, you had the Chancellor, this woman called Rachel Reeves, bawling her eyes out in Parliament because the bill that she proposed to put through, which would destroy a lot of disabled people's livelihoods, got completely demolished in Parliament. And some of the heaviest hitting reforms were completely omitted from the final document, which was supposed to be passed through, which was supposedly saved the government £5 billion a year, which was bullshit anyway. It was never going to do that. And it was taking money away from people who they claimed were out of work. But the particular benefit that they're targeting was actually an in-work benefit. You could be either in work or out of work. So not everybody who's on it is necessarily out of work. Now, anyway, I want to play these videos, right? Because you see here, this woman bawling her eyes out. But at the end of the day, she's a Shedomite. And I've got no sympathy for Shedomites. And we shouldn't, because at the end of the day, Esau is Esau, be it male or female, it don't matter. They're all Edomites, right? So they're crocodile tears, man. Don't be fooled by them. Don't feel sorry for them, because she wasn't crying when they were looking to take away, disabled people's livelihoods and put them into, complete abject poverty. People not being able to pay for their food or their rent or their energy bills, with no other means of surviving. She wasn't crying for them. She's crying just because her ass is basically on the chopping block, because her whole scheme has been shut down. Let's play this video. I've got a couple here. Forgive me, this is an advert. Got to sit through that.
it's been a pretty chaotic week already so far. We're recording this just after Prime Minister's questions, and it turned out to be a pretty interesting one. I think we'll end up talking about it, so let's just get a flavour of it.
This man has forgotten that his welfare bill was there to plug a black hole created by the Chancellor. Instead, they're creating new ones. She looks... Mr. Speaker, she's pointing at me. She looks absolutely miserable. Labour MPs, she looks absolutely miserable. They can point as much as they like. The fact is, Labour MPs are going on the record saying that the Chancellor is toast, and the reality is that she is a human shield for his incompetence.
The Chancellor's led on all these issues, and we're grateful to her for it.
Well, Kemi Badenoch being pretty punchy there. And shortly afterwards, we saw the result because the cameras filmed the Chancellor fairly clearly crying.
Labour government, we got free school meals, breakfast clubs, childcare, got £15 billion invested in transport.
So there we have it. I mean, Kemi Badenoch wasn't wrong in a sense. The Chancellor is a human shield for the Prime Minister in lots of senses. I guess it's a reminder that human beings, politicians are human beings, and whether we think the Chancellor's done a good job, a bad job, or an indifferent job, she has absolutely been pummeled this week. She is in the crosshairs. I mean, where would you begin on it? Is she...
Yeah, so don't feel sorry for them, man. Because I want to show an example here. This is one of the former Prime Ministers, Theresa May, bawling her eyes out because she had to quit her job.
I will shortly leave the job that it has been the honour of my life to hold. The second female Prime Minister, but certainly not the last. I do so with no ill will, but with enormous and enduring gratitude to have had the opportunity to serve the country I love. Enormous and enduring gratitude to have had the opportunity to serve the country I love.
You know, and these are prime examples of why you don't put women in positions of authority, man. Because they can't handle the heat. You know, when it gets to them, they end up becoming emotional. Now, I want to show an example here of how this Chancellor is so incompetent she can't even answer direct questions. There's an interview here.
Form UK.
Yeah,
she
just back.
John Gunn MP.
Right, look at how she's answering the questions when asked, and how many times she says it's always because she's trying to create a narrative that will sound good, but she ain't got the answers, man. Check this out.
Thank you, Chancellor. Could I turn to the issue of tariffs? Last time before you for this committee, I think it was on the 6th of November. I think there was some uncertainty at that point over the complexion of the new administration in the US. But at that meeting, you said we will make strong representations about the importance of free and open trade, not just between ourselves and the United States, but globally. Could you update us on how effective you think those your representations have been?
Well, I spoke to my opposite number.
Hold on, I'm going to put captions on here because I like to watch videos with subtitles. Sometimes it makes things that are being said clearer. Look at how many times she says
Could you update us on how effective you think those your representations have been?
Well, I spoke to my opposite number, the Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, in his first week in office. I've joined the G7 meetings since then and spoke to him again on Monday this week. And the Business and Trade Secretary, Johnny Reynolds, is meeting regularly with his opposite number and also the US Trade Representative as well. And those talks are ongoing. As I said before, and I will happily reiterate it today, I do believe in free trade. The UK has balanced trade with the United States. When our Prime Minister Keir Starmer was in Washington meeting President Trump just a few weeks ago, they agreed to start a rapid dialogue on an economic agreement. That work is ongoing at the moment, but we do not want to see trade barriers go up. Indeed, we want to see trade barriers fall, not just with the United States, but also with our nearest neighbours and trading partners in the European Union, with India and other countries around the world.
But I think it's fair to say, and obviously you're not the arbiter of the US's tariff trade policy, the consequences of what's already been announced are quite significant. What concerns the committee, I think, is that the OBR world economy forecast, based on the IMF forecast, doesn't incorporate any of the changes. Now, you have maintained your headroom, and my colleagues will ask you in more detail about that, at 9.93 billion, exactly the same as in October. It's 50% higher than the most recent of your predecessor OBR that into this committee.
There's a lot of questions to
answer the last one first, perhaps.
You see, and that's another thing that gives these Edomites away. Look how red their faces, man. When they get flustered, they always...
I said in the budget last year that it was a once-in-a-parliament budget to wipe the slate clean after the economic mismanagement of the previous administration. We made a number of difficult decisions around taxation. We increased tax...
See, this is the thing. When you're telling the truth, it's not something that you have to construct in your head. When you're telling a lie, you have to construct it, because you're making something up, you're fabricating it. Whereas telling the truth, it's simple and direct. You can relay that information concisely and clearly because you're just telling the truth. But when you're telling a lie, you have to build. You're constructing it as you're making it. That's really getting all the because she's having to do two jobs at once rather than just relaying information. She's having to construct information and then relay it. So these Edomites are fucking devils and liars, man. So don't feel no sympathy for them whatsoever when they try and cry their crocodile tears, and especially these Edomite women, because at the end of the day, the Edomites are the Edomites, be it male or female, and they're all going into slavery. They're all going into slavery. There's not going to be no Edomite that somehow gets a pass because they cried or they showed some sympathy on one occasion or something like that. Now, don't get it twisted. There may be people who have so-called, they may be so-called Edomite looking. They may have that appearance. But if their seed line by their forefathers goes back to the man in the Bible named Israel, then they're going to be in the kingdom. They're going to be fine because they've just got that look of leprosy. But their seed, according to their forefathers, goes back to Israel, then they're Israelites. But for you true-blooded, through and through Edomites, you're all done and you're all through, man. And your kingdom's going down, and it's a beautiful thing to watch and observe, There's a scripture on that. Let me get some precepts. This is 1 Timothy chapter 2, starting at verse 12, and it says, let me read up a bit. 1 Timothy 2 and verse 11. Let the woman learn in silence with all subjection. But I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to usurp authority over the man, but to be in silence. For Adam was first formed, then Eve. And Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Notwithstanding, she shall be saved in childbearing, if they continue in faith and charity with holiness and sobriety. Let's get this other precept here. Sirach 25, starting at verse 7. Because Sirach chapter 25, starting at verse 7, says, There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue. A man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. See, let's read that again. Sirach 25 and verse 7. There be 9 things which I have judged in mine heart to be happy, and the 10th I will utter with my tongue, a man that have joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. So we're living in a time where we're seeing the fall of this man's system. Esau's system's going down, so we should be happy. We should be happy to see Esau catching hell and going down. This is 2 verse 6 and starting in verse 7. It says, Then answered I and said, What shall be the parting asunder of the times? Or when shall be the end of the first, and the beginning of it that followeth? And he said unto me, From Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau, for Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. See? So Esau's going down. Esau's the end of the world. We're seeing Esau's system crumble and collapse. And Israel is a nation that's coming up in its place. It's not going to be no Moab. It's not going to be no Ammon. It's not going to be no Elam. Israel is the next nation to rule. And our kingdom will be an everlasting kingdom. So yeah, man. Don't be deceived by these Shedomite tears. To hell with all these people, man. So with that, giving all praises, honor and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem HaKodash, double honors unto the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that rule well, and shalom unto the 144,000 elect men of the nation of Israel and the rest of the elect that are destined to be saved. And I'll catch you on the next lesson, Lord willing. Shalom for now.